Hardik. So, what's happening in the indirect tax front, specifically GST? I assume there would be a lot of stuff going on.
Yes, Tapas. So recently, if you look into a recent past, IMS was made live without an actual legal backing, though that has been recommended in the council meeting, but yet to be notified.
Hmm.
Similarly, ISD is become mandate now from 1st April 2025. So that's it. Other than that, the government is also thinking of bringing the sectors which are not in the e-invoice into the e-invoice mandate. So lots of things going on right now.
So, never a dull day in GST, like it always keeps you on the toes.
Indeed, never a dull day. So recently also the GST Council meeting wrapped up, and there was lot of uproar on the social media about the meeting that happened on GST. So let's discuss on that topic.
I think you want to discuss the popcorn meeting of GST Council.
Yes. So just like popcorn burst out of a vessel, similarly, the topic which burst out of GST Council meeting was absolutely a taxation on popcorn. So loosed, salted, spiced, caramelized. There are too many confusion for a simple snack. So can you just elaborate and clarify what exactly the taxation on popcorn is?
Absolutely. So, in fact, once the council meeting was over, I saw, and for towards a lot of days, we saw that there was a lot of uproar on the social media. People went to an extent to say that now what happens if I gulp water? Do I pay more tax? And if I sip water, do I pay less tax? The problem here is that the fundamental is that a tax should be simplified. And when you tax a simple snack like a popcorn in three different rates, it does create a lot of issues. So let me just give you a view of what the government is thinking about it. What they say is that if you eat or if you buy a loose popcorn, which is salted or spiced, then it attracts 5% GST. Now, if you buy the same popcorn in a packed form, it's slightly a premium category product which attracts 12% of GST. Now, when you mix this popcorn with caramel, which is essentially sugar, if you don't care about your health, why do you care about your money? They want more amount of tax from you. So simple. And other sugary water or cold drinks or whatever products are there in the market which are kind of a confectionery or sugar based drinks, they are all under the category of 18%, which is where they had put in popcorn into this 18%, caramelized popcorn into 18%.
I see. So while the taxation has become complicated, it is not entirely illogical, right? So it is a kind of a sin tax
Correct.
which is on the
Correct.
sugar based product.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
while it goes against the fundamentals of a simplified tax, it's not entirely illogical, as you said. That also brings me, there was one more point which also had a lot of hue and cry in the social media was sale of old cars. And probably it was because what the finance minister said during the press meet is that you purchase a car at 12 lakhs and then you sell after some years for 9 lakh, you pay the tax on the margin. And people said that, boss, if I have made a loss, I have sold a car making a loss of 3 lakhs, why do I have to pay tax on that amount? Do you want to shed light on this? Was that correct, or is it something that we are missing out here?
Yes, sure. So the example was not entirely incorrect. It was correct. Just a depreciation effect was to be given to the purchase value. So the sale of old and used car is basically based on the margin based taxation system. So whatever there is a difference between selling rate of a car, of a sale of old and used car, and the purchase value of the car after giving after giving the effect of depreciation claimed on that particular car. So whatever there is a difference between the selling price and the WDV, it is the margin on which the GST has to be charged. So again, going to the same example which was quoted in the media briefing, if you bought a vehicle for 12 lakh and you are selling it for 9 lakh, right? So on the 12 lakh amount, a depreciation has to be deducted. So if the vehicle has been used for 2 years and suppose the depreciation is 2 lakh, the book value of the old car is 10 lakh and the selling price is 9 lakh, right? So that is a negative difference, and hence on minus 1 lakh or no GST would be applicable. Similarly, if the depreciation value is 5 lakh, which brings the WDV value to 7 lakhs, and the difference between the selling price of 9 lakh and the WDV of 7 lakh is 2 lakh, which is the positive margin, and hence the GST would be applicable on the positive margin of 2 lakh rupees.
Right. So essentially, the margin that the finance minister said was not to be compared with the actual purchase price, but on the depreciated value of the goods and what is the value on which you are actually selling. It's that difference or on which you pay the tax. Understood.
Yeah. Other than that, there were also many important topics which were discussed in the GST Council meeting, which was not discussed more about it. One of it was the restaurant which is within the hotel, right? They were bonded to the declared tariff, right? If it exceeds a declared tariff, it would be charged at the certain rate of GST. If it is below the declared tariff, it would be charged at a certain rate of GST with and without ITC respectively. So can you just throw some light on what has been changed on this restaurant which is within an hotel?
So till now, the GST that was charged on restaurants was normally 5%. But if you are a restaurant which is situated within a hotel premises, then the percentage of tax that you charge depends upon the room tariff that the hotel charges. And this again, while popcorn was something which was known to everyone, and it's something that everybody can relate, this, if you see, is even more complicated, because what tax would be charged on a restaurant would be determined on the basis of the room tariff that the adjacent hotel charges. So let's say you go to a five-star hotel and there is also a restaurant in that hotel. The amount of tax or the percentage of tax that that hotel charges depends on the room rate, declared room rate of that particular hotel. And this led to a lot of confusions on what tax to be charged, and I mean, it had a lot of surrounding issues. So what the council now says is that we want to simplify it, and in order to simplify, we are going to give you an option whether you want to be 5% or whether you want to be at 18%. And the option is up to you. If you are within that five-star premises, you select the rate that you want to apply for, and you go ahead without looking at the actual tariff of the room rate.
Yeah, so I hope it eases out the tax complexity for the restaurant within the hotel industry, and it eases the taxation for them. Moving on to the second part, which was RCM on the commercial property other than residential dwelling. So there has been some mandate or there has been some amendment in those RCM on the commercial property as well. Can you throw some light on it?
So when this amendment was announced, initially what the government had said that there is if there is any registered person, that registered person has to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism if that person takes premises on rent from a person who is not registered under GST. Now, using the word registered person also brought within its ambit the people who are under composition scheme. Now, people under composition scheme don't essentially get any credit. They are all those small dealers within a specified turnover who are supposed to charge a very less amount of tax, who are actually dealing with the end consumers. Now, these people, if are required to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism, which they were not paying till now, increased their tax burden because they were not paying tax till now. So what the government essentially says is that while the reverse charge stays as it is, from the definition of a registered person, for this purpose, we take the composition dealers out. So the composition dealers are now not required to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism.
So I agree that is a positive move. We have seen there are many small shops around our house which are registered under the composition dealer, and to burden them with the RCM without an ITC was little harsh for the dealers as well, right? So that's it. Then there has been some change in the sponsorship services as well, right? So RCM on the sponsorship services, there is an amendment as well coming on to that. So can you throw some light what has been changed now?
So, in case of sponsorship services, what it was said earlier is that any person providing sponsorship services to a LLP or a body corporate would be covered under reverse charge mechanism. You did not have to look at what is the status of the service provider. Now it says that if the service provider is also a body corporate or an LLP, then it goes under forward charge mechanism, meaning that the person that is providing the services, if the sponsorship services, if that person is registered and if that person is a body corporate or an LLP, then that person charges the GST to the recipient, and the recipient is not required to pay under reverse charge mechanism. This kind of puts this service under the same wavelength as the other services are. So normally under reverse charge mechanism, they want the small taxpayers to be out of the tax ambit and want to put the burden on the taxpayers who are eligible or are capable of making tax payment or are easier to track in terms of compliance. So this amendment kind of aligns the position on reverse charge mechanism.
Yes, so I agree to that point. It is very easy to target someone, to have a responsibility on someone who is in the organized sector and not in the unorganized sector. That would definitely have more tax collection. So, Tapas, thank you for sharing the insights on the RCM for the commercial property. Now, a recent amendment was also there in October, and now this recent amendment is also happening, right? What is the treatment between these two period? Can you shed some thoughts on that?
So when a notification comes in under indirect tax, they have to mention an effective date. This notification also has an effective date as the previous notification had. Now, if a subsequent notification doesn't take a retrospective effect, saying meaning thereby that if it doesn't say that this notification, irrespective of what the earlier notification said, it will take effect from an earlier date, it has a prospective effect. And the notification also uses the word called एज एस वेयर इज बेसिस विच मीन्स दैट जितना टैक्स गवर्नमेंट को आ गया वो भूल जाओ अभी नए सिरे से वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू चार्ज न्यू टैक्स टू यू योर मिस्टेक माई मिस्टेक वी डोंट केयर द टैक्स हैज गॉन टू द कॉफर्स वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू रिफंड दैट इज वॉट layman's language meaning for as is where is
Yes, yes, it is भूल चूक माफ आगे बढ़ता है.
probably some rates here and there or some procedural changes, but I think what we discussed, that's about it. Those are the big changes that are coming in.
Thank you, Tapas.
Thanks, Hardik, it was a pleasure.
Same here.